believe we are live. Oh, good. Phyllis, you're here. I've been hoping you were because I wanted to tell you. Oh, my camera's kind of messed up. I'm all excited. Maybe we'll just leave it that way and not make it worse. The super chat you said on Wednesday that it was to buy a crepe myrtle. I'm actually going to go get some cold hardy hibiscus. Hopefully Callaway's has them. They have these huge flowers. Did some research on what I wanted in one spot. So that is where your super chat is going. I'm really excited. I mean, it's not the crepe myrtle. I ran out of room for crepe myrtles. So cold hardy hibiscus. Pretty excited. Okay, sorry. It has nothing to do with today's live stream. I just saw Phyllis was here in chat and wanted to tell her. So, okay. Today I am working on the new Luxe Archival sanded paper. Link is in the description. The link that I have in the description is to dickblick.com. You also can get it from brushandpencil.com. That is the creator or who makes this paper. It's a sanded paper, and just for transparency, they did provide me with this paper as a sample to try out, which I'm in love with and never want to use any other sanded paper ever again. Did not see that coming. That kind of surprised me. I mean, I knew it would be good because it's from Brush and Pencil. All their stuff's good, but I didn't think it would be so good that I just didn't want to use my Fisher 400, which has been my favorite all along. So yeah, this paper's amazing. The flower came from Pixabay. I did some Photoshop on it. If you've not already drawn that out, you will want to do that. You can get the reference photo over at patreon.com/Lachri. You do not need to be a member to get that. It's free for everyone to download there. I did some Photoshopping and moved it around, so we've simplified the background so that we can actually get this done in 2 hours. Fingers crossed. And let's see. Is that everything? Can we get started? Oh, Pan Pastels. These pencils were also provided to me by Pan Pastel a couple of years ago to test out, which I also love. And you know, you've seen me use them a few times now. So there's all of my legal disclaimers, but all of the opinions in this video are my own. Okay. Or live stream video, whatever we are doing today. So the first thing that I'm going to do, we are going to, well, we're only 2 minutes in. We'll give it like couple more minutes. But we're going to start with a Pan Pastel background. Oh, I forgot my spray. Where is my spray? Hold on 1 second. I knew I was missing something. I don't know where I put it. It's not there. There's only a couple of places it could be. The studio's not that big. Well, that's not good. Where is it? Huh. Found it. This, the spray that I'll be using in between layers with the Pan Pastel, Spectrafix. That is the Spectrafix Fixative. Love this stuff. So normally if I were using powder blender, which I'm not today, if I use powder blender to blend, I'm going to be using the texture fixative from Brush and Pencil. But with this one, we're really just doing pastels and colored pencils. So I'm going to use my Spectrafix. So, okay, that started to scare me because that would have been a bit of a challenge. I mean, I could have used the texture fixative, but it's not the best. It's not really intended to go over pastels. So the results are a little different. Phyllis said, that's great. I just found a cold hardy crepe myrtle. Nice. Yeah, crepe myrtles, we're in the South, so I don't have to limit myself to that. We've got the Acoma crepe myrtles out there. They're just, I told you that Wednesday already. They're starting even today, just in 2 days, how many more buds are popping up. So excited. They're definitely my favorites. Okay. Hi, Gail. Okay, all caught up. So what I am using to get my background are these soft tools. And I'm going to put new ones on mine because this is really dirty. So they're like a little palette knife and they have these little spongy covers. So we're going to go ahead and put a new one on this. And I've had people ask me how you clean these. I wipe them off in between colors a bit if it's If I'm using a light blue or a dark blue, I will just take a paper towel and wipe it off on that. But realistically, you're just going to use new ones. These are disposable. They are things, the little sponges. You will go through, I mean, they last semi-long, but not, you're not going to get multiple paintings out of them. They do start to wear down. So what I usually do is I have one for my light colors and one for my darker colors, which I'm going to go ahead and get one of those ready now, because I burp on camera. That's classy. This is where you come for class. Okay. Burping, coughing, I am a mess. So we're going to go ahead and change the cover on those. So I've got one for the lighter colors, one for the darker colors. Hi, Carol. It is not, well, it's kind of morning for me. It's 1 p.m. here. I'm a late night person. Well, I've been getting up earlier, believe it or not. I've been waking up before 9 a.m. since we moved into this house in November, which is crazy. I don't remember doing that in my adult life. Except when I used to work at an animal hospital. Okay. So I'm going to start with the lighter colors in here, and then we'll move up into the darker greens. You don't have to go with the same colors. We just want some sort of soft, kind of out of focus background. Okay, so let's go ahead. I need a grayish blue and a peach. So I'm going to try to mix a peach. Now with my pastels, I have a set of, how many do I have in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have a set of 20. So there is my set there. And what I'm going to do is mix. Let's see if I can pull it up here so you guys can see how I mix. Because I don't actually have the peach color that I want. So I'll take a little bit of white, a little bit of orange. Mix that back in with the white. No, let's get some red and more orange in there. Until I can get kind of a peach type color. And so I'm mixing similar to how I would with paints. Ooh, that is too peach. I mean, it's peach, but it's a little too dark, but that's no big deal. I'm just going to put white on top of it and let them blend together. And I'll just map out about where I want that to be. Cloud said, hello, Lisa. Can I ask, do you ever do digital art? I've used traditional mediums for years, but digital seems like a whole other animal. How did you find it? I love digital painting. there are a few things that are really, really nice about digital that traditional can't match. One, the undo button, phenomenal. Like to be able to just like, oh, that's a bad brushstroke, undo. It takes away, I think, a lot of the fear that some people have when they're getting into art. Which is nice because you can't mess things up. Ooh, too dark again. I'll add white on top of that to soften it. But you can't really mess stuff up, and I love that. But there are a few things that people misunderstand about digital art. One, a lot of people confuse the concept of digital art with digital photo manipulation. Not the same thing at all. So a digital painting, you're still painting, you're still making the brush stroke. You're just doing it on a computer. So it takes the same amount of skill. I don't think, you have people who think that digital art isn't real art or it doesn't take the skill level it does for traditional mediums. That is just not true at all. The downside is you don't have an original painting. You're going to make prints there. Now, of course, you could do a limited additional print run, limited edition. Those aren't the same word just because they sound the same. But it takes a lot of skill, and I think that digital painting is really good too. It can be expensive to get into depending on what setup you go into, but you don't have the fear of ruining a canvas, wasting materials. Once you get your setup, I think it can open up a lot of, make people feel more free to try things they might not otherwise try. So I think it's really cool. I really enjoy digital painting. I don't do it enough. Okay, so I'm going to, what I had talked about before, when I switch colors, I'm going to go ahead and just wipe that peach off. So I get some of that off, and it's still there. I mean, I can still get color off of it, so it's not going to clean it. Now I want a grayish blue, so I'm going to do the same thing. Got some gray, we've got, which blue do I want? We'll go with the ultramarine blue. I've been on this ultramarine blue kick lately. And we're going to start filling that in. Oh, I need more blue than that. We'll just mix that in. There we go. Oops, too much blue. We'll come back through with white and gray to tone it down. Now I want to be careful around the flower. I don't want to smudge that in too much. I'm going to overlap these so they smudge together. Now don't overblend. I don't want to keep pulling the blue and the orange back over each other, the peach over each other, because you'll lose the definition of the orange and the blue. You'll just have mud. So don't overblend that. Just holding that brush to the side to get a nice straight or clean line right along the edge of that flower or the stem there. Now, I don't push very hard with these. I've heard where people say they burn through them very, very quickly. I mean, I guess the idea of very quickly is subjective, but I don't find it to be an unacceptable amount that I have to replace them, but I don't eat through it too fast. I think because I don't push very hard with them, usually. So again, pull some of this in here, mixing my blue, my gray, my white. And this will come up into the darker greens. Yeah, one of the things I'm really liking with pan pastels, I do want to get additional colors, but realistically, that's just because I like to hoard art supplies. I don't need them. With just this set of 20, I really can mix anything that I want. I love that about these. So I'm just kind of being careful around that edge. Oops. And I got a little on the flower petal. It's not the end of the world. Doesn't really matter that much. I love how fast you can layer stuff in with pan pastels. And I love the combination of these with colored pencil. So you can use pan pastel as a background and then use powder blender for your subject if you want to blend that way too. It really just cuts a lot of the time off of the background process if you are not a huge fan of spending much time on backgrounds. The other thing that I really like, they're not super, I feel like I've turned into a pan pastel advertisement. They didn't ask me to do this. They sent these to me years ago. I'm just sharing my experience. But I always do that when I find something I like. I turn into a walking advertisement for it. You should have seen back when I used to have a cat and I found litter crystals back in when was that? Sometime in the 90s. God, every time I was in a grocery store, someone would see me buying it and I turned into a walking advertisement. So it's just in my nature to try to sell things to people that I like. So anyway, where was I? I don't even know what it was. Oh, one of the other things I really like about the pan pastels, I'm very weird with pastels. I think pastels, I'm knocking stuff over, pastels are an absolutely beautiful, actual pastel pencils, beautiful medium. And I can't use them, put this somewhere, I won't knock it over. I can't use them because I hate how they feel on my hands. It freaks me the heck out. And I know people have said, well, use gloves. I don't like the feel of that either. So, I mean, it can be freezing out and I usually won't wear gloves. So, I'm in Texas. We only get that. We don't get that freezing. But anyway, this doesn't feel like this. This has almost I want to say oily, but not really. It just doesn't have that dry feel that pastels do. The thing that freaks me out so much about pastels, these don't have, which is really nice. Now, I don't care if this is exact to the reference photo. I'm just using that as a loose base to get these pretty colors. I'm going to soften that a bit. Now remember, as I pull the blue into the orange, it's going to make it a more muddy brown tone. So if you don't want that, be careful not to overblend those. Okay, I may come back and lighten that up, but we'll go into the lighter area here. Alexander said, thank you so much for all you do. You've taught me so much, but most importantly for me, you kick me under the butt, but remind me to have to stop worrying and just paint, draw, and have fun. Thanks. That is awesome. And yes, that's, I think we all need that reminder sometimes. We get so worried about things being perfect and yeah. Mary said, if you're using the pan pastels, you will need to use a spray fixative to make it stay on the canvas. Yes, what I use for my spray fixative with pastels is the Spectrafix. This stuff is wonderful. Lobo said, hi Lisa, fun fact, classic blue is Pantone's 2020 color of the year. So you're in sync, sign of a true artist. It's just the reference photo that I chose. Okay, so that's going to be way too green. Let's add a little bit of black. I may add a bit of red to it to mute it. We'll see. No, the black and the green look like they're working okay for me. So it looks like a chromium oxide green. What is this? Hey, yeah, chromium oxide green. Good, good. I've been doing this a while, it seems. And that's just mixed with my black. Ooh, be careful. Don't get all crazy there. Oh, that eraser is not working. I need a different eraser. This one's probably not going to be the best choice. Good enough. So I've got to be a bit more careful. Actually, I want to switch to a pointy brush. Technical term. Just for the inside here, because I'm having a hard time getting the other brush I was just using in these edges. Now I would rather this overlap into the petal a little bit, like I just did there, than not quite touch it, because you don't want to end up with a halo effect where your background doesn't look like it goes, like it's the background. You want it to look like it goes behind the flower and not just outline it. Let's see. I use my finger usually to blend pastels. Yeah, you know, a lot of people do. And when I was younger, I did. And something switched in my brain as I got older and I got even more neurotic about stuff. And it's like this weird OCD thing with dry hands. It freaks. I sleep with lotion in my bed, not on my nightstand, in my bed. I have a thing of lotion next to me all the time because I wake up during the night to put lotion on my hands and feet. I'm weird. I get it. I very get it. But I'm so weirded out, like dry skin freaks me out so bad. One of my friends will send me photos when her hands are really dry and cracked just to screw with me. Because it like really bothers me. So that's okay. She hates feet. I send her photos of my feet to freak her out right back. But anyway, those are the moderators. It's Chris. Chris, if you ever really want to freak out Chris, she's one of our moderators in one of the other art groups. Yeah. She has a thing with feet. But anyway, that's how much the dryness bothers me. And when I was younger, I used to play with pastels all the time. I loved them. And then I got weirder. Just trying to keep that edge as clean as possible. Pat says, how does the wave painting behind you change color every week? Wave painting? Oh, wait. You can see the wave. The painting or the background? It's just the lighting. And that's interesting, no matter which you're looking at. The way that the lighting is in any room, the way that it refracts through each layer, because especially with the glazing, it will look completely different from different light sources. And so it makes it a challenge when you show a photo of your work online and you're trying to make it as accurate as possible so buyers know exactly what they're getting. But it's like if they put it in a room with slightly different lighting, it's not just the lighting itself. It could be like one room may have more blue furniture in it and that reflects a little bit, like it picks up the blue bouncing around lighting and science. It can completely change the color of that painting. So it always makes it a bit of a challenge trying to find something as accurate as possible, or get something as accurate as possible. Like I'll take a photo in the studio and then I'll take the painting and the SD card, go into my office to edit the photo to make sure it's accurate. And the painting sitting on the floor in my office, it won't even look the same colors at all as it looked in this room. So yeah, the lighting makes like several factors make a difference, but the lighting's gonna be the biggest one. The other thing too, I'm constantly with the video equipment screwing around with my settings. So to try to make the artwork that I'm working on as accurate as possible. So that may be part of it too. Let's see, Paul said Payne's grain, good for shadow and oil painting. It can, but it wouldn't be my first choice. I mean, it depends on what you're doing, but normally I would say, look at your reference photo. What color is it really in that shadow? Usually I'm going to go with purples or blues, or, it depends on what other factors in that painting are, but I don't jump to gray or black as my shadow. I used to. When I was younger, it was just like, oh, shadow, that means black. I actually find that to not be the best choice in most cases. there are exceptions, of course, but don't, like, there's no one right answer as to this is the color you use for shadows, unless you're doing cartoons. And even then, let's see. I can't read that. Just call the guy with the Greek name. There we go. That's why I can't read that. This is the first that I've actually live from me, and wanted to thank you again for your generosity. I've learned so much from you. That is awesome. Yay. Sergey said, did you change something regarding your front camera? You seem extra full HD today and slightly on the blue side. It's a different camera. This camera, if I'm painting, if I'm using acrylics or something that I need the palette to show, that's the camera that I use for this, and then I use the webcam on me. If I'm not using that, then I just use that webcam here versus the so yes, I alternate between cameras depending on what medium I'm working in. Then the lighting in the room, of course, will make a difference in what I fussed over on my settings. Irritated Paintbrush said, can please give how to get following on one's art Instagram? People say to post daily, but I can't create daily. I mean, then is art your thing? I mean, if you can't create, you don't have to have something new daily, but you should have updates daily. If you aren't creating daily, then why would you want to grow an art account? Like, what is your goal there? If you're not creating regularly, why would you want to grow your art account? Like, an artist is going to have something generally to create daily or close to. So I'm really not sure what your goals are there. It's like, can you please teach me how to drive, but I don't have a car? Like, I don't know where you want me to go with that. You've got to be a little bit more realistic in your expectations there, I think. If you don't have content, why would anyone follow you? People, especially kids, want to build following, like they feel some sense of pride or something from like followers, or how they value themselves. And the only reason that you need to have followers is if you're creating content that people are going to want. Like, I don't get kids these days with their need to have numbers for what? If you're not creating art, then why do you need followers? I don't, if you're not creating regularly enough to gain the followers, then you've answered your own question. I know it's not the answer you want, but you've got your answer. Ropaka said, so great to be here for the first time watching a live. A pleasant surprise. Usually I'm asleep when you're live. What time is it there? Past 9 p.m. in Finland. It is 1 p.m., well, 1:22 p.m. here in Texas. Mary said, would love to see your lighting setup. I'm playing with drawing on Twitch and I have major issues. So if you look, you should be able to see my lighting setup in here is very, very simple. It's an easel, a light over my easel, and then I've got a bay window here, so I've got a lot of natural light coming in. I had to close the blinds because it's too much natural light and I can't see my computer monitors. But if you look on Instagram, you may have to go back a ways. I've not posted in months the studio, but you can see the clamp light that's sitting right above my easel. That's all it is. Alexander said, would you ever do a video explaining how we could take better photographs and or scans of our work? And yes, that is on my, one of my next to do plans. So yesterday I finally recorded repotting the orchid so I could show you guys how I do that. Now I need to edit it. So who knows how long that'll take me, but I'm moving forward with that. So the next one after that, for like a vlog type video, my plan is showing you guys how I anyway, photograph my artwork. Now that I've got my base on there, I can start getting my values in better. I need a lot more black. Bracci Alessandro Fine Art, I just butchered your name and I'm sorry, said, thanks to your tips about YouTube art channels 2 years ago, I reached 3,000 subs and growing. So thank you very much. That's awesome. Congratulations. Hi, Mara. Paul said, are pan pastels light fast? Does it create a wax bloom like Prisma? It does not create a wax bloom. And the light fast information is on the back. They've got a star rating that tells you how light fast they are. So yes, most of them are. They have some colors that may be questionable, but they'll say on the back what that rating is. Sergio said, which pan pastel colors would you consider essential for a basic set? I don't know. This is the set of 20, like it's a basic set of 20. I think they sell it as just their set of 20, and this would be what I would consider fairly. This has everything I need. So this is, I can definitely say this is a good one. I'm not sure. I haven't tried using like limited colors besides the set of 20, but I can certainly recommend this. I don't know how basic you're going for. But I think it's kind of like any medium. I mean, if you really want to limit it, you could get away with a red, a yellow, a blue, a black, and a white. I would not want to limit myself to that extent, but you could. Erica said, you probably don't remember from last time, but my Robax colored pencil tray storage came in. Super happy. I bought each tray to hold all 414 pencils in one space. I'm such a dork. That is awesome. Didn't you post in some, was it you? Somebody posted in one of the art groups. I saw that. It was the white trays with the little spot for the pencils. It looked pretty cool. I'm going to introduce a phthalo green so I get some variation in here. Now, as I get in between these two, I don't want to keep pulling the black and the green down. So I'm going to start pulling the blue up and adding a little green without black. Otherwise, I'm going to get a muddy, muddy mess. I can actually use this same one just for the green. This may be a little too green, but it's kind of pretty. I kind of like it. That's the thing with art too. Keep in mind, we'll use these reference photos and some people get so worked up about everything being exact to the reference photo. It doesn't need to be. Unless you're doing a portrait where you really need everything to look exact, don't work yourself up about everything being exact. Like a portrait, okay. It has to be pretty exact to look like that person, as far as where the eyes are located and all of that fun stuff, getting the expression right. But something like this, the background, if you do something, I'm like, wow, that green's too light. But it's kind of pretty. I kind of like it. Leave it. That's fine. You're the artist. You get to make this how you want. You are not married to that reference photo. It's just there as a guideline. But I think it's very common for artists to get so worked up about wanting everything perfect that they kind of lose having fun with the piece. Have fun, be creative. I don't remember who had asked, they wanted an Orca and Inktense live stream. So I cannot find a decent Orca photo that I'm like really inspired to work from right now. So I have to keep looking. But I did find a really pretty, was it an Atlantic dolphin? And that one I'm going to do surreal. That one will be, I'm working on, it's in the office. I was going to point at it, but I got it designed last night, and that is going to be our Patreon lesson coming up this next week. So it'll be Inktense. It's surreal. It has the earth, the moon, space. So that I'm going to try something a little different with that one. I'm going to, instead of using masking fluid to mask it out, I'm going to paint in the entire background and then use the white Inktense to block everything back out. So very similar to how I work in acrylics. I want to see what happens. It may be a horrible failure, but we're going to find out. Leah said, enjoyed the manatee video and did the background in oils after the video. Excited to get the manatee painted in this week. Nice. Just going to darken this a bit more. Come back through with some more black. Now I'm just using straight black to get a darker look in here. If you have a question for me, just remember to do the @Lachri Fine Art. If my name doesn't highlight in orange, I just don't see the question. It's not that I'm trying to ignore you or be like prickly about it has to have that name. I just won't see it. Every once in a while I'll catch one that isn't highlighted, but normally I just don't see them. Very softly going across this. Want to make sure that it does not look outlined, or that it has that glow. I want to make it look like that background goes right behind the flower as much as possible. Now you guys can go a lot slower than me and make yours look even cleaner and nicer than mine. But I am limited on time for these live streams. So, okay. I'm going to go back to some grays and blues right in between. Let's smudge these in together to get a prettier transition. I have something else. Is there one I'm not using yet? We'll use you. Oh, another tip you can do, and actually I'm going to do that on this. One of the things you can do when your the sponge starts to kind of fall apart, or if it gets too dirty, turn it upside down and use the clean side. I mean, when you're putting them back and forth off of these, you do start to make them wear out a bit more. So you're only going to turn them over so many times, but yeah, makes it get a little bit more use out of it. I know you like to use your airbrush for a bokeh background, but would you use pan pastel? I can't talk. Pan pastels be a good medium to create a bokeh background? Absolutely. They would be excellent for that. Paul said, hyper-realistic colored pencil art still amazes me, like what Heather Rooney recently made when she shared she spent an extra 100 hours, just like you said, and indeed it takes time. Yeah, and it's phenomenal to look at. It just doesn't look like fun to me. I'm like want to move on too fast. So this is clean. This doesn't have anything on it. I'm just kind of lightly going back over this, cleaning that up. My God, I love this paper so much. It feels like too with the Luxe Archival, one of the things that really got me with this is that you don't feel like you get as much fall off. Like it's not as messy as other sanded papers, which is kind of weird. Didn't expect that the first time I tried it. Was really happy surprise. Getting the darks in here, which will help that flower to really pop once we start in with him. Almost ready to start on the flower. I'm using that brush again. This one's more clean. I mean, it's kind of dirty now just because I've been blending with it, but I haven't loaded it with pastels. It just has on it right now what it picked up off the paper. A little bit darker. Ali said, I started with oil paint recently and I do love them. However, how you create hard edges such as petal and grapes because it gives a soft edge. How to create that? The easiest way, let it dry. If you've got your edges blending together where you don't want it, let it dry and then clean up those edges in my case the next day, because the mixing medium I use, Liquin, it dries pretty much overnight. So I don't have to wait long, but if you just let those layers dry, when you start creating mud and things aren't coming out as clean as you want, that's an indication that it is time to let that paint dry and go on the next layer. So you'll watch videos like Bob Ross and people who paint in that style, and they get the whole painting done in one session, and that's fine. And it can be very pretty, but it also, it's not how I paint. I paint in lots of layers so I can get those nice crisp edges. I mean, that's not the only reason I paint in lots of layers, but that's one of the benefits. And you can get crisp layers with other paint. It's just a matter of letting it get a little bit tacky and how much paint versus how much liquid you use or mixing medium, or which type of paint you're using makes a big difference too. Okay. I may come back with more blues in there, but I'm going to go ahead and mist this. Actually, I take it back. Before I mist that, I'm going to get a base on the flower. So for the flower, thing is not sticking on there. Get on there. I'm going to start with just the center. I'll use a darker brown. It's actually red oxide, and I'm going to mix that with a little bit of black. And I don't care if this is perfect. This is just my base. A little bit more black, and again, that's mixed with the red oxide. Actually, it's not, I don't know if mine's called red oxide. That's just what it would be in my thing. This one is red iron oxide. One of the things that I really like about certain colors, certain brands, when they use like paints, ultramarine blue is going to be about the same in most paints, and Pan Pastel is following that. You get into colored pencils, and yeah, there's usually an ultramarine blue, but they get all these crazy names like Heather. I mean, okay, but there are like so many colors. They had to start making up names, I guess, and I don't even know what half of them are supposed to mean. I really like when I can go, okay, that looks like red oxide to me, and it is. If I did that in a pencil, I'd look at it and it would be like some random word I couldn't pronounce. Okay, now I am going to switch. Should I draw it? Yeah, this one will be fine. going to put a new cover on this one because I'm going to be using yellow. Actually, I don't even think you're the best choice here. Let's just turn this one inside out or flip it over. If I can do it without dropping it, my gosh. Coordination skills are not high today. There we go. Let's see. And it jumped too far. Hold on one second. Let me scroll back up. Where were we? Alyssa's Art Room said, I have some General's pastel pencils that I usually use just for drawing my image for painting. Can I paint anything worthwhile with those? If so, which arches paper, rough, cold, or hot? With pastels, the arches paper I've used wouldn't be my choice. Probably cold, but that's not my choice for pastels. I would go like Hansen Mi-Tens would be great. That's a pastel paper. Something that's actually intended for pastels would be a better choice. As far as that specific pencil, I mean, Generals are good. I've never tried. I don't know enough about their pastel pencils to say if those are good. So I really can't give you any advice there. But I wouldn't think that arches is going to be the choice there. I would go with an actual pastel paper. You'd probably get better results. Irritated Paintbrush said, actually, I'm not a full-time artist, so it's hard for me to create daily. Even if I create daily, I know I can't be good enough to post it. I know numbers shouldn't mean anything. Yeah, sketchbook. You could possibly do get a sketchbook following. But, you know, you've got to combine things too. Gaining a following, you've got the marketing side of things here. I'm going to be mixing my yellow and some white. But you've got the marketing side of things, but you also have to be creating something that is interesting to people. So like if I kept posting photos of, look, I sketched my flip-flop. I sketched my foot. Actually, the foot thing, people would probably follow for that. But you know, so these random things that no one's interested in, not super creative, you're going to have a harder time building a following on that. So you do have to balance quality. I see what you're saying. You know, you have to balance something good enough that people are interested in with consistency. And it's kind of hard. I mean, if you don't have anything to post, it's going to be harder for you to gain that following. And one of the things that happens too, and I've had this happen where I followed people and I don't remember why, like they didn't post in so long that I got a random post from them, whether it be about art or not. The random post wasn't impressive. And I was like, why am I following this person? Unfollow. So being consistent enough that people remember who you are is a big deal too. I don't know that there is a solution in that case if you're not posting regularly. How you would, I mean, you can't get a following without posting regularly and consistency. So I can't really give you advice there. I mean, and you'll have somebody will inevitably go, well, I knew this person did it. Yeah, that's a very rare case. Occasionally someone wins the lotto too. Not normal. So, you know, someone may have a post that gets shared by a lot of people or something goes on Instagram. You don't really have the viral thing, but that's not that common. So this yellow is going to be the base for my reds and oranges. And putting this on here first with the pan pastels, the oranges and reds are going to blend really nicely too. Chris said, have you ever tried the Marco Renoir colored pencil? If yes, what do you think about them? So not light fast at all. And I have people argue with me. Yes, they are. No, they're not. I talked to the company. They're not light fast. They don't test for light fast. So I think people just don't know what that word means, or they just like to argue with me. Also a very high possibility. But anyway, performance-wise, they were actually decent. Like if I had a beginner student, I could teach them to work on those. Not the best pencils in the world, but they were okay. I mean, and I would say a younger student, an adult, I would say just get a small set. And really, most people, I would say, just get a set of 12 polychromos. You're going to learn more from that than a full set of crappier pencils. But they weren't terrible. I was not. I did the Marco Renoir and I did the Marco Refine. Like I did both of them, and I was surprised. Even the really cheap ones, they weren't terrible. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to like absolutely hate them, and they were, I mean, they don't compare to polychromos, but they weren't bad either. Like they were good enough that someone could get started and get started learning with them. They blended with OMS okay. They were the more expensive one, which somebody can correct me on that. I don't remember which one is the more expensive one. One of them is like $50 for a bigger set, and one of them is like $12. So the more expensive one was definitely better. But again, you're not dealing with light fast colors. So I would personally recommend people just go ahead and get a set of 12 polychromos, or a small set of a quality pencil versus a big set of lesser pencils. But at the same time, they weren't that, like, performance wise, I should say, they weren't really as bad as I would have expected. The more expensive ones, like I said, I could teach someone to work with those. And that's kind of how I judge things. Like if someone brings in certain supplies, sometimes the supplies will make it so that it's harder to learn because you're fighting your supplies. And so that's why I bring up, I could teach someone with this. Certain brands of acrylics, I can't teach on them because they don't glaze right. They lift the previous layer. So it never really adheres quite right. So that's where I keep bringing up, like, yeah, I could teach someone with this, because some art supplies are so crappy, they don't work. Like, you will spend all your time fighting it, and then you think, well, I'm just not good at this. And it's like, no, your art supplies don't have the capability to do what the other art supplies do. And so that's why I bring up if I can teach with it or not. Can they blend? Can they layer? That's what I'm looking for there. And yeah, and again, the more expensive ones, not the cheap ones, the more expensive ones especially, I could teach with them. Let's see. Kimberly said, when finishing a graphite piece, what fixative do you use? Is there any particular process you follow? I have used, was it I forget. No. Why is my brain shutting off on this? It's cheap. I got it at like Hobby Lobby or Michael's years ago. And I know that there's better, and I need to, I actually haven't varnished a graphite piece in forever, but because I need to get a new varnish, I want to get better ones that are supposed to be higher quality. I mean, I never had any trouble with the cheap one that I used. It's for graphite, but, I'd rather use higher quality if I can, if I find out there is something better. I don't know why it's better. I was just told it was better. I need to research that. But the one that I used was, do I have any here? I don't know. It was something fairly inexpensive. It never yellowed or anything over time, so, I mean, it's fine. I'm not sure why the more expensive ones are supposed to be better. I need to look into that. Heather said, hi, and hi, everyone else. On the way back home and loving this to keep me from throwing someone from the moving vehicle. That is awesome. I'm just turning this, trying to fill it in solid. Trying to keep those edges pretty clean. Now, if my edges are a little fuzzy, I can come back through with a colored pencil and clean them up. But as much as possible, I'd rather not. Irritated Paintbrush said, it is always fun to watch your live streams. They are so informative and inspiring. Thank you. Chris said, have you tried the marker? Okay, got that one. Leah said, oh, an Atlantic Dolphin in Inktense. I have been putting it off due to time because of work, but it seems I will have to join you on Patreon. I've been following Jason for some time. I follow Jason too. Yeah, that one, I'm excited. He's going to be, I've got the space scene, I've got the Earth, I've got I'm excited about this one. Like, you know how you get, I don't know, you come up with a design, and it's not that it's going to be my most, like, breathtaking design ever, but I really want to paint it. I'm really looking forward to this one. TK said, how do you make exact drawings? Do you use a ruler to take measurements or draw, or do you try to get it exactly? It depends. If I freehand, so some people will use like the grid method. It doesn't work for me because there's math involved, and I never get my grid out right. I find it to be more trouble than it's worth. I can freehand very, very accurately. Way better than when I use a grid, or I trace. Either way, tracing for me is a way just to save time. But I can freehand perfectly fine too, whether it be a portrait or anything else. It just takes more time, and I've got to get a lot of work done in a short amount of time. So those are my two main methods, would be freehanding or tracing, like projector, when I need to save the times. Okay, we've got kind of a purpley red, so we'll go purple, some of the red oxide, and I'm just going to pull that on down. I'm just using the side of that. This guy has a leaf sticking out. I don't know if mine's going to. I don't think mine's going to, just due to time. Okay, so there is our background. I'm going to mist this, and we'll let this dry, and I'll get caught up on some questions. Now, when you mist Don't get up close. Don't overdo it. Now I'm always going to test too, making sure I'm not having any weird clogs and heavy droplets off on another piece of paper before I get it up onto the artwork. So we'll just lightly mist that. I've got a couple of droplets that I'll soften out as we go, or as that dries, but I'm gonna let that dry and get caught up on some of these questions while we wait. Shirley said, how to apply this project with pastel sticks, and do they work the same? No, they don't work the same. Pastel sticks are going to typically have a more chalky feel to them, whereas this one has, like, it sticks better. I keep saying it feels more oily, and I don't know that that's the right way to say it because it's not, but it's more, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. But you can do the same thing with the pastel chalks. I used to. That was one of the main things I used to use when I first got started with art. When I was a teenager and started, I shouldn't say first got started. When I first started taking it more seriously as a teenager, I would get these pastel chalks from a local pharmacy. They had like a little teeny art section. Those and watercolors were like my main thing that I played, like that I say played with, but I was trying very hard. That's what I used, and you definitely can create some beautiful stuff with it, but you're going to apply it differently. It's chalkier, so it's going to be a little bit more messy. You're still going to want ideally to have a spray to mist over it. And this one is Spectrafix. Words are so hard. Spectrafix that I used here, and this is going to seal that down. Some of these chunks, let's just dab that in between layers to help seal it. But it's not as like chalky as what you'll be using, but you can definitely use it with those, or draw this with those. I am failing at grammar today. Oh, this good thing we're waiting for this to dry. I'm missing a bunch of questions here. Let's try to get through these really quickly. Oh my gosh. I'm way behind. Okay, here we go. Paul said, I own a Cray Pass oil pastel and it sits in my bookshelf for 5 years now. Might want to invest in pen pastel pretty soon. Yeah, these are awesome. I definitely recommend these. Let's see. I also use makeup sponges with the pen pastels. If you find the right ones, they are great and quite cheap. The fun part is to see the face of the cashier when I buy them. I'm a man. That's awesome. Yeah, I actually have some. They're like the makeup, like the, these guys I have for the powder blender. And they work really well too. Not all little eyeshadow looking brushes are created equally. These are more spongy. They work really well. Heather said there are flowers called Heather. There we go. I think there's flowers called pretty much everything in the history of all the things. Like there's a flower. They have some interesting names. Like I garden. I keep mostly orchids, and I still will come up with names where I'm like, that's a word. Donna said, what paper do you suggest a newbie use to practice pan pastels? I would definitely go with a sanded paper as my choice. I really like these on sanded paper. They can work on other pastel papers, so maybe you want to try other things, but I'm definitely a huge fan of the sanded papers. The Luxe Archival is my favorite, but it's probably a bit expensive if you're just getting started experimenting. You may want to go, and I feel dirty recommending them, but you may want to go with like a UArt, the UArt 800 is what I was using. No, 500. What did I used to use? I think it was 800. I wouldn't use UArt for finished work at this point because we found out the back of that paper is not acid free. The front of it is that you do your artwork on, but the back is not, and that can over time affect each other, which concerns me, and I wouldn't personally purchase it again, but it's a lot less expensive. So as much as I'd say get Luxe Archival, it's amazing. If you're a beginner and just starting to play out a little bit, you might want to get like one pack of the UArt just to play around with it and then switch to the good stuff. But any pastel paper, I've seen people use it on regular pastel paper like Canson Me10s, anything like that should work. Sergio said that flip-flop sketch would be 50 Shades of Epic. Yeah, 50 Shades, all right. That's actually fitting for some of the weirdness. I had a guy who followed, so years ago, see if I can do this story quick because I'm really bad at fast stories. Years ago with Google Plus, when that was a thing. They told you, or my network manager, whatever, when I was with the network on YouTube, they told you if someone follows you, I'll follow them back on Google+. This is a really good way to get that interaction going, whatever. So I followed a guy that had followed me, and I was following everyone at the time. I didn't know how many people had feet fetishes, and it weirded me out. Videos he had shared where it was like, I mean, okay, you're not hurting anyone. Well, some of them were hurting animals with this squishy. There were things. Yeah, I unfollowed him. It weirded me out. That was years ago. Melanie said, I'm wondering if you have any encouragement or suggestions for starting to paint in oils. My art space is also my bedroom, and I'm concerned that any paint fumes might be too strong. I don't recommend, so I used to paint my bedroom as well. I don't recommend leaving a drying painting in your bedroom. I used to put mine in a bathroom or any other room to dry. So I would paint in the room, but then when I closed up all my supplies, the painting, because while it dries, it's still setting off those fumes. I put that into another room. That was just actually the bathtub. I had more paintings in the bathtub than you can imagine. That was where I would store them. And then when someone actually needed to take a shower, by then hopefully, because mine dry overnight. So I just need it overnight, and then I can put it in my room, and then the smell's gone. So that was a whole process that I used to do when I painted in my bedroom. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But I wouldn't feel comfortable myself sleeping in a room with the drying materials. So again, my palette, I don't leave open. It's sealed off. So I'm cutting off the air there. I'm cutting off the air from escaping of the odorless mineral spirits that I use. I stop all of that, but the painting is still setting off those fumes. So that always goes in another room for me. You can put them if you've got an access to a garage. You could put it in a garage, but sometimes bugs and stuff will get on it and then get stuck to it. So I didn't do that too many times. But let's see, encouragement or suggestions for starting an oil paint. So besides that, the big thing with oil paint is to understand, like people will talk about, well, oil paint, you get mud, you make a muddy mess. Yeah, because you're over blending and you're not letting it dry between layers. And that's the big thing. When it starts to get too muddy, you can't get your edges clean, let it dry and come back, once that layer is dry. For me, the next day, because I do use liquid, which is that fast drying medium. How many times have I said that in this video today? We could turn it into a drinking game. In my case, decaf coffee. Let's see. Juan said, hi, I'm wondering if I can do what you were doing with pan pastels with normal pastels. Yeah, you can. The results, the way that you layer them will be slightly different, but yours can look just like mine. Absolutely. Diane said, what do you do to have an adequate ventilation when oil painting? I'm scared about the toxic fumes. I've never had issues really. And I'm prone to headaches. I'm prone to a lot, I react to a lot of different things. I never had issues with the oil paints, but I use I use Mona Lisa odorless mineral spirits. I did have issues when students had brought in different types of turpentine, even the natural ones. Anything that says natural as a paint remover gave me I had huge problems with headaches. My lungs would try to close off. It was bad. I had bad reactions to the natural ones. Natural does not mean non-toxic. That's a huge misconception. I don't even know why that's a misconception, how people don't know that. But anyway, the Mona Lisa odorless paint mineral spirits, that or Gamsol, pretty much the same thing. Those I never had any problems with. You can open a window if you need to. Having a ceiling fan on can help get that air moving out if you're concerned if it's a really small space. I wouldn't want to paint in a closet with oils. That's a little too confined even for my lack of concern in the matter. But just get that air moving as much as possible. And I don't leave the drying painting in the room. Put that somewhere else that's got better ventilation or that no one's sitting in. Be aware with birds. Do not oil paint or have the oil paints drying in an area if you have birds, because that's very toxic for them. Almost got it. Carla said, hi Lisa, wanted to say thank you for the extra picture you sent to us Patreon members. So cool. If you guys want more lessons, this is awesome, very reasonable tool. Thank you, Carla. Yeah, I guess this would be a good thing. I always forget to do my own pitch. So Patreon, if you have not already signed up for Patreon, for as little as $4 a month, you get access to all of my longer 1 to 2 hour, sometimes 3 hour long tutorials, although this last week's was less than an hour because it was just the finishing up of the zebra. But you get access to all of those. There are over 200 of them available for you right now. You get reference photos each month and sometimes bonus reference photos like what Carla was talking about. It was a really cool one with the lighting with the orchids, so I thought you guys might like that to draw or paint. Yeah, check that out, patreon.com/Lachri, or if you go to my website, lachri.com, go down a little bit where it says Patreon Library, click on that. The Patreon Library will show you all of the lessons that I have available for you right now, and you get instant access to that when you sign up. So $4 a month gets you an insane amount of art lessons. Thank you, Carla. Daniela said, love the finished zebra. Thank you. I'm pretty excited about him. I've got a few areas I still need to clean up on him. I haven't even signed it yet, and then he's going on my wall. I can't wait. Cindy said, the other day you said you didn't really have a mentor. I want you to know that you are my mentor. Thank you so much. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, things that make me cry. Erica said, I just want to thank you for making your Patreon affordable. You're the only one I can afford. Definitely not knocking any other artist prices. Everyone is amazing. You're just the best. Thank you so much. Cindy said, I have a question. Can you use Frederick's canvas watercolor board for colored pencil work? I have not tried it. I think it's too rough. I don't think I would like the results I got. But I should probably try it just to find out for sure before I keep saying I don't want to do it. I don't think it's a suitable surface. Now for Inktense, I do want to try it for Inktense. The only reason I did, and I almost did that and I still may change my mind, for the painting that I'm going to do, is with Inktense, I prefer for that to be behind light or UV protecting glass because we know that it has a tendency to fade. And that's a little bit harder to do with, although you could still put it behind glass on a canvas. It's just weird. Canvas behind glass looks weird to me. So that's why I keep doing paper, but I do need to try it for that. But for regular colored pencils, I don't think it'll be a good choice. But I would have to try it to know for sure. I actually kind of want to try gessoing it and trying it with powder blender. Might be too smooth though. I don't know. I have to experiment. Where were we? Marilla said, pen pastels also work really well on pastel mat. Yeah, I've seen them used on some other pastel type papers and they worked out real well. I've not tried on myself. Let's see. Have you seen the works of, I'm going to butcher that name, Quang Wen? I don't know how to pronounce the first name. I'm sorry. My next goal is to use the Verdasio technique he used for a portrait. It's amazing. I have not. Paul said, are odorless mineral spirits odorless? Yeah, pretty much. I really don't notice. It's so faint. Like, it's such a faint smell that it's easy for someone to, if you put it in a glass, like my friend Lena Dania. She had a video a few years ago. She kept hers in a mason jar, but she also drinks out of mason jars. The smell is so faint, she picked up and drank the odorless mineral spirits instead and didn't realize. Like, she drank a decent amount of it before she realized, a couple gulps there. So the smell is not strong at all with those. That's a good example of how not strong it is if they can be mistaken for water. Dan Gonzalez said, I agree when it comes to the naturalistic fallacy. Hell, arsenic is naturally occurring. Exactly. There's plenty of stuff like that. Whoops, that just jumped to where... Thank you, Carla, for the super chat. You're so sweet. Oh. You guys are adding to my fun today. I'm going to Callaway's to get plants. So I'm getting some cold hardy hibiscus I want now. Hopefully they have them in stock. Let's see. Where were we? There we go. Boots Mama said, what's the dolphin you were talking about? I came in late. It is a Atlantic dolphin, and I'm going to be doing it. They've got kind of the squished face. So cute. I'm going to be painting him in a space scene with the Earth and Moon, and I'll be doing that in Inktense. So I'm painting him tonight. I designed it last night. I'm going to be painting him tonight, maybe finishing him up tomorrow. So that'll be this coming week's Patreon lesson. Someone had requested a orca space scene, but one of the things with orcas, I'll have to play with that. One, I couldn't find the photo that I was like, this is the photo I need. I have not found a good one yet that I wanted. But the other thing was with how dark they are, and when I wanted to do the space scene, I decided this dolphin, like just the angle, everything about this dolphin I'm really excited about. Okay, so more decaf. I drink it like it's going to give me energy. It's decaf. Okay, so pan pastels, I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on. I may use a little bit more if I need to blend anything later, but I'm probably good with those. So I'm going to put that lid on. Get out the colored pencils. So I'm going to be starting with my polychromos. And the reason for that, polychromos blend on sanded paper so well, with powder blender, without powder blender, they just blend on that. Now, because I have a base layer of the pan pastels, they're going to blend really well anyway, even without powder blender. I'm not planning on using powder blender for this unless won't blend for me. But let's go with, I need some bright oranges, or orange and red colors. We've even got some magenta kind of pink tones in there. We'll grab a couple of those pencils. And I'll tell you which pencils I'm grabbing once I get a bunch of them out. I'm going to do the petals first, and then I'll come back through and do the center, I think. Okay, we'll see how these go. So I'm like, well, maybe you too, maybe. So the pencils I grabbed, not going to guarantee. I don't know. Can you see Gibson behind me on his back? Hold on. Does he? Yeah, you can see him, legs in the air. I have the classiest dogs. So the pencils I grabbed, we'll see how these work out for me. I'll probably have to grab a yellow too. I have Pale Geranium Lake. See, that's not a color. This is what I mean by colored pencils, the weirdest names. I've got Crimson. See, that doesn't, Crimson I would think red, and it's like a lavender color. Magenta, that I would call magenta. Light cadmium red, which is kind of a deep orange. We've got red violet and fuchsia. So those are the colors I'm going to play with. You know what? I probably should grab a light yellow for mixing stuff in. And this one is cream, is the one I'm going to use for my light yellow. So now I am going to go ahead and start blocking in. I'm going to use my Pale Geranium Lake. Yeah, I'm calling that dark orange. I get too creative. Yeah, see, this is what happens when you have artists name things. We get too creative with stuff. Boots Mama said, I was asking for an orca in Surreal Inktense. It doesn't have to be space. Yeah, I still want to do a realistic orca in Inktense. I just have to find the right photo. And so that's why I was looking for the orca when I found this dolphin. And I was like, we're doing the dolphin. Orca still needs to happen. Paul said, forgot to prime my canvas for oil paint. Now the drawing I made shows at the back side of the canvas. I don't care if the drawing shows on the back. No one's looking at the back. My concern is if the canvas isn't finished, the paint is going to kind of soak in, and that can be a bit of a problem. It's hard to get it to like set on top of the canvas versus soaking into it. Can definitely be a challenge. Once your layers dry, your first layers, sometimes that almost works kind of like a primer or, like a gesso. Not completely, but it can get better. Gail said, all my puppy lays like that a lot too. Boots Mama said, an orca in Inktense in water would be awesome. Yeah, I'm still looking for the orca. When I find the right photo, definitely. Linda said, I have the Derwent Drawing 24 set, but looking to buy loose pencils to go with it. What brand of colors would you recommend? Should I buy different brands of the same color? No, I would probably I wouldn't get a whole bunch of pencils of the same color. Don't seem super useful. I would think it would be more useful to use to get a bigger variety. But if I had that set and let's say you wanted a set of 12, I would go with polychromos. It's a good balance to that very wax-based Derwent Drawing. I'm just going to use this guy and smudge that out. There's nothing on it. Because it's blending in with my pan pastels. So I'll just smudge that. But I would go with that, or if you want to go with a bit more, the Derwent Lightfast is my other go-to pencil right now. But you've got a wax-based pencil, so I would go with a more oil-based. So either the Derwent Lightfast or the Polychromos. I think would be a good way to go. Lori said, on the Pan Pastels, what would you suggest for a beginning set? This is the set of 20, and I can show you how many colors there are. I've got the little pan to put it in, and they come in they're kind of stacked up. That is a perfect set. If that's, I don't know if that's what we would consider a basic set or a beginner set, but it is wonderful. I haven't hit a point where I was like, oh, I wish I had this color because I can't mix it. I can mix everything I need from this their basic set of 20. So I definitely can recommend that. But I haven't really tried any other colors besides this, so I can't give you much in the way of recommendations there. I know that's not very helpful. I can make stuff up, but that's also not helpful. Angie said, what would you put on a canvas board to hang it? I would put it in an open frame, just like I would if I were framing a normal canvas. So you still frame it, and then you hang it through the frame. You put the little hanger guys on it, and that's it. Jason said, check Wade. He's still breathing quick? Wow, he is, but his head is not on the bed. His body's on the big pillow bed and his head is on the tile floor. That does not look comfy. And Gibson, God, he's such a dork, that dog. He's so funny. Boots Mama said, you can't tell. I love orcas. I'm right there with you. They're probably my favorite. So maybe that's why I'm being so picky. Like, I need a good photo. I did, what was the one I did in the Graphite tint orchids? And I did it because I'm like, okay, here, the idea looked better in my head than it did in practice, but I'm like, I don't feel like I did that one justice. So I want to get good photos and do that with the Inktense. I've got to find a good photo though. Stacy said, how would you go about framing this piece? So this one, I would first mat it. I would get, in this case, so this is not a normal size. The paper is a 8x10, I believe, but I've made it a little bit thinner and narrow. So I would cut a mat. I would either custom cut or have someone custom do it, or in my case, I would cut it myself. Cut a mat so that it fits. The outside would fit a frame for a, this is an 8x10, so the mat that I would do would be an 11x14. And I would go with a standard size so that I didn't have to buy a custom overly expensive frame. I don't do custom frames. So if I go with a standard size, in this case, even though it's not standard, I cut the mat so that the outside of the mat is a standard 11x14, but then it'll be a little bit thicker on the top and bottom. So it's, you know, get that widescreen effect. And that will give me that look, it would be very inexpensive compared to what it would be if I had something custom done, since this is a weird size. But once it was matted, I just put it behind glass. Go to wherever you want to buy your frame, and that's it. So I'm just kind of blending, letting that yellow in the background show through on some of these areas. I'm gonna pull, this one was what, the red violet, a little bit in here. Tallulah said, I've been trying to putting off getting Inktense because I've been buying far too many art supplies lately, but it's next week's Patreon, so I suppose I'll just have to get them now. There you go. The cool thing with Inktense, you don't have to get a huge set. You don't have to get the full set. You can get a small set. I would get a small set of blocks, small set of pencils. Make sure you get white and black in both sets. That's important. I don't think a white pencil comes in the pencil set, so you may have to buy those individually open stock, but I would recommend getting a small set of each of those because you can mix so much from just a small set. They blend and mix so well. I mean, I like all the colors, but when you're trying to be more frugal, these ones the Inktense are nice because you are able to mix so much with just a few. Now I may switch to my oil-based pencils to get the final details. They'll kind of stick a little bit better once we get to that stage. And I'm just looking at my reference photo constantly. Where are my lights and where are my darks? I don't care if the color is exact. It doesn't matter. If I see like a light orange, try to make a light orange. If I see yellow, try to make it yellow. It does not need to be exact. But we do want to make sure that we're getting the darks dark enough and the lights light enough, because that's what's going to give us that glow look, like where it's being backlit like this. Larry said, that's so cute seeing your pup lay with his legs in the air. Yeah, I woke up the other day. Did I post that one to Facebook? I don't remember. But he had wrapped his blanket around his midsection, and so his back legs were sticking in the air, and his front legs were up here, like sticking out of the top of the blanket. It was hilarious. That was a funny thing to wake up to. Logic said, you're so good at this. How long have you been doing this art for? Thank you. Pretty much my whole life. I've been drawing. I mean, that's what most artists say, my whole life. But when I was a teenager, I started taking it more seriously and then decided to become a professional artist when I was 19. So 20, how old am I? Like 25 years ago? I'm old. Sherry said, tried the Lux archival paper using polychromos pencils on the base layer and was not able to layer them and flatten the tooth. Do colored pencils blend better with pastels first? Well, if you're using the if I'm not using pan pastels, I would be blending it with powder blender, and it takes multiple layers. So you put a layer, you spray your texture fixative, let it dry, next layer, and you repeat that until you get it up to the point that you want, where you get that nice smooth look. But in the first few layers when you're using powder blender, I need to get a dark green to fill out my corner here. Your first few layers, it's normal for it to be kind of dull, not really blending nicely. That's completely normal. You just keep building until you get that end look that you're going for. Let's see. Brenda said, just FYI, the basic set of pen pastels are the truer colors. The soft are like pastel tints of the basic colors, and the others are dark shades of the basic color grays. I'm going to need to look those up to know exactly which one. I think I should have the link to the one that I have in the description if that link still works. It was copy and pasted from a year ago, so it may have changed. Yari said, when did you discover your passion for art, and did you take any classes? I was, I'm sorry for those who keep hearing me tell the story, but I was sick a lot as a kid. I had still have celiac disease, but we didn't know it. So I had a really bad immune system. If I was exposed to like a common cold, it would always turn to tonsillitis. Like I never just got better normally. I would always have to be on antibiotics. I was sick a lot. And so I would sit inside and I just didn't feel well. So quite often, so I would sit inside and draw. And that's not that sad of a story. I still got to go outside and play. But the point is I was sick a lot, more than the average child. So I spent a lot of time indoors drawing or coloring. When I was a teenager, I started trying to make things look really realistic. Like I started taking that a little bit further, but I've always loved painting, or not painting, drawing is what I did back then. And then as a teenager, I started taking that more seriously. I dealt with a lot of depression as a teenager due to a schizophrenic, abusive, alcoholic dad. And drawing was kind of like my escape there. So that I really started doing a lot more then. And then I was still sick all the time. So great combination. And then as an adult, the way that I decided I wanted to become a professional artist, I was looking at, or down at the beach. I'm from Southern California originally. And I was down at the beach with a friend. And this woman was selling, back then when the drawings and paintings that I would do were all orcas and underwater scenes and space scenes with orcas. That's like all I did. And horses. So I guess not all I did. But the woman was selling her work for thousands of dollars. And I remember looking at that going, oh, mine are better than that. I'll be rich. Not how the art world works. But it's what got me started on this path of I'm going to be a professional artist. So I was about 19 when that happened. And I mean, I already was painting and drawing all the time as a hobby, but that's when I decided I'm going to do this forever. Gail said, YouTuber artist XRIS Art recommended using Eco Tools makeup brushes from Ulta Beauty for pan pastels, and they work great. Oh, I'll have to look into that. Thanks. I will look into that for sure. George said, of those polychromos, what use for men's lips? The only ones that worked okay were... Okay, so here's the thing with lips. There's not a color for men's lips. And the colors you're using, way too dark. You're making them look like they're wearing lipstick. The lips on a human that is not wearing lipstick should be pretty much the same as their skin tone, slightly darker. So it's a difference of the values, not the color. The colors, you just listed a bunch of colors. Yeah, you're giving him lipstick. It's looking probably not as intended. So you're thinking too much about color, not instead of values. And its values are the darks dark enough, lights light enough, and it's pretty much going to be a darker version of whatever his skin tone is. In most cases, there are exceptions. I mean, we've all seen, like, what is it Macaulay Culkin, or how do you say his name? He has like bright pinkish red lips. Like his looks like he's wearing, hold on, let me make sure this isn't something I have to, nope. He looks like he's got those bright lips. But if you do that to the average man, it's going to make it look like you're trying to put makeup on him. Fine if that's what he's wearing. If not, you probably don't want to go that route. So it's not a matter of this is the color you use. And I would say that for anything. A lot of people are like, well, what skin tone do I do for somebody who is this race or this race or this race? It's not a color. There's no one color. It's multiple colors. And usually it's the same color for all of us. It's a difference of the values and the lighting situation. I mean, when you put me under this light and I've got, gosh, looking on the camera because I'm weirdly tan right now, I have this orangey brown tint to me that's really weird. I would not want to include that in a portrait. Whereas you put me in another light at a different time of day and I may use more like cooler tones. So there's no one color for any one race. There's no one color for any gender. There's no, look at your reference photo and look at the values. That's what you really want to be focusing on more than anything else. And it's multiple colors. Like I will use purples in skin and pinks, and for any skin tone, they will usually include those. It's a matter of how much, but, I think you're focusing too much on the idea of there's a color for a tiger. A tiger is this color, so this is the color I use. There would be like 15 colors, 15 variations of the values in there. It's not as simple as this is the color for this subject. Hope that helps. Where were we? Thanks, Shahanda. Shadhana. That is a beautiful name that I just butchered, and I'm sorry. You must show your trick to cutting a mat. I bought a mat cutter and I seem to mess up mats. I'm not a pro. I would say find somebody who made a video showing you how. It includes math and I'm really bad at it and I kind of have to do it. I am definitely not a pro. I wouldn't feel comfortable teaching someone how to butcher their paper like I do. Bev said, I agree about using unprimed canvases. What a nightmare. Didn't know better at the time. Never ever. Let's see. Paul Jones said, Paul Jean, said, I indeed try to follow Thomas Kincaid painting and it's overwhelming and difficult. You know, it's cool though because he's so advanced. You will learn so much from that. By the way, none of these petals are finished. I'm just kind of blocking them in and I need to get moving on this or we're never going to finish. And I have plans to go by after this. I need to hurry up. Now notice too, that you've got a shadow behind some of these petals. So like here, this shadow is going to continue because it's from this one. So watch where some of these shadows, we've got a shadow in here. You've got some interesting shadows going on from the petals behind it. And you don't want to look at it and leave that out. That's actually important. Like this one, that's a big deal in making it look like it's three-dimensional and the light is coming through there. Tracy said, I have real trouble getting a sharp edge to flowers, etc. on sanded pastel paper. Is there some method to help improve this? Yes, there is. Loving being a new Patreon member. Great videos. Thanks. Welcome. And we're going to be using a bid OMS and that or some waxed base pencils. We'll be doing that to clean up the edges because yes, mine are fuzzy too. That's a really good question. Where were we? Beak said, how do you paint metal with a patina or a brush finish using colored pencil and graphite? And black and white. I look at the values. It's the same thing. It's that high contrast with the values. Your dark's dark enough, your light's light enough. And anytime you're doing anything with metal, getting something to look metallic, you've got a super high contrast with the lights and darks. And that's really the thing that most are missing to get it to look really metallic. Kimco said, do you use extra spacers in the frame? You should. I don't. I'm not a pro. Like I said, not a pro, not going to recommend that sort of thing for anybody because I don't want to mess anyone else's artwork up, but you probably should. So I'm going with that lighter orange here. And I'm just going to loosely block that in. We've got to get some pink in there. If I go too dark, no big deal. I can come back in with that cream color. You really can't mess anything up on these. So you don't stress yourself out that something's messed up, something's not perfect. You're just going to layer until it looks good, like everything else. I know you guys are probably sick of hearing me say that. You just keep layering until things start to look good. They're going to look terrible at the beginning. And you've seen that on these live streams. How many of mine look absolutely terrible? They're usually all about this stage. I'm just kind of mapping out about where the lights and darks go. Cece said, I did a pen pastel piece and colored pencil piece and used mineral odorless spirits. Do I still need to spray it with a fixative? Yes, absolutely. If you've got, unless you used OMS on everything and even then, I would still use a fixative when it comes to any type of pastels. And I know there are artists who won't because they say it changes the look. Yeah, but it falls off. So I knew a framer, back actually when I worked at Michael's, she was showing me over the years, people would bring in and the pastels constantly fall off and land on the mat, even when they've been sprayed with a fixative. Imagine without a fixative, your artwork is constantly disappearing. So that fixative, I feel, is extremely important and I wouldn't be without it. Oh, that jumped. hold on. Lori said, I got a 150 set of Prismas and 72 of Derwent Inktense at a garage sale for $90. Nice. Allura said, have you tried the Mitsubishi colored pencils? I saw them on Amazon. Was wondering if you tried them. I have not. I don't really know anything about those. I've heard people talk about them, but I don't know anything other than I've heard the name, but I've not looked into them really. Okay. And which color I'm using, not a big deal. I mean, if it's kind of pinkish, I'll use a pinkish tone, but I'm more, as always, worried about getting darks dark enough and lights light enough. I mean, we're not even really at that stage yet. Here, I'm just using my pinky to blend a lot of this. That's how you know the pan pastels are not chalky, because, oh my gosh, if I had done that with regular pastels, I would be having a little bit of a breakdown right now. Like, I cannot stand that dry feel on my hands. So just looking at that photo, constantly looking at that, copying what I see. I think that's a big thing when it comes to art that you want to teach yourself, is just to copy what you see. And there's no magic trick. It's just going to take time and experience. And the more you paint and draw, the more you start to see. You start to notice things that you, like right now, you may look at something and think, I don't even know how you just saw that. Maybe not on this. This is pretty simple. But with like portraits, I'll do something and come and help a student, and they'll be like, I didn't even notice that there, and it made such a big difference. That comes with time. Don't feel like if you're at a place right now where you're not really noticing things, that doesn't mean you're not going to get to that stage. It's going to take time. You have to draw more. The time doesn't happen while you're sitting on the couch watching TV. Like, you have to actually draw more with that time. Gracie said, please, may you tell him, do you like Prismacolor pencils? I've heard mixed reviews on them. Nope, not at all. So Prismacolor, what I started with years ago. That's really all you had in the US. It's all I ever knew about. It's all anyone, that was it. That was your choice. And that was before the internet. I'm very old. So that was just what I used. And they weren't bad. Back in the 90s, they were still decent. They had the wax loom and such, but they were a good pencil. They sold to another company. That company moved their production facilities, and whoever's running that facility decided, I guess, the owners, I don't know, they just cheaped out on everything from the wood that was used, having trouble getting up their way. But they started cheaping out on things. The wood casings are bad. The pencils break constantly, which is going to happen anyway with a high wax content pencil. So I'm not judging them for that. What I'm judging them for is they have a tendency to break. They need to be in a good casing to counter that. They're not. They're in crap. You try to sharpen them, they'll be splitting down the side. The leads are not centered. No. I am not by any stretch of the imagination a fan of Prismacolor. Now, that's not to say you can't produce something beautiful with them. Lots of people have them. Lots of people love them and like them better than anything else. And that's totally fine. Keep in mind, like, a lot of them are not light fast, so that's an issue. But as far as, the pencils themselves, the performance, some people love them. I had gotten to a point where I never wanted to work, like I wasn't working in colored pencils. If you look at my earlier videos, they were all oils and acrylics and graphite. I got so sick of fighting broken pencils. And people will tell you, oh, well, you're sharpening them wrong. I've been doing art longer than most of you have been alive. I'm not sharpening them wrong. I know how to sharpen a pencil. None of my other pencils break. Only that one tells me that's a problem with that, the splitting, with everything, all the problems. So for me, I don't enjoy fighting with my supplies. I just want to be able to pick up a pencil and draw with it. I don't want to, people will be like, oh, there's the tricks. You can put it in the oven. You can melt the wax. Yeah, there are tricks. I don't want want to jump through hoops to make my art supplies work. Like it's not, I don't have time for that. So anyway, that is where how I ended up not wanting to use them anymore. And so I started with the Faber-Castell. I gave them a try, Polychromos. Absolutely amazing. Loved them. Then I tried the Caran d'Ache, loved them. Then I tried Derwent Color Soft. Hated that. Oh my gosh, that was worse than Prismacolor. But then now they've got other pencils that I like better. So, you know, there's a lot that I do like a lot better now. But yeah, no, I mean, and again, if you've got Prismacolor, you can create beautiful work with Prismacolor. So don't take that the wrong way or feel like, well, this is what I have and now I'm disappointed because I can't. You absolutely can. You're just going to have to jump through some more hoops than I do to get them to work right or sharpened. Let's see. Where were we? Carol said that feeling of the regular pastels is like the sound of scraping chalk on chalkboard. Yes, that is exactly it. And that's how, like that cringing, you can feel it up your arm when someone scratches chalk on a chalkboard. That's how pastels feel on my hand. Exactly. Exactly. Let's see. The only fixative I would consider with pastel is the Spectrafix. Minimal change of colors, even the Flare Sol spray bottle for even coverage application. I've not tried that. Casey said, I ordered some, the Spectrafix I love though. Casey said, I ordered some pastel pencils and look forward to trying them on this. Nice. Jason said, in school, I was told to cut my own mat with an X-Acto knife, and boy, you have to have that knife sharp to go through the mat, and oh, you were not so old. Yeah, oh man, I can't even imagine trying to cut and I say I can't imagine because I've done it and I wouldn't do it again. That is not easy to get things straight and done well. And even the rulers, like the rulers can sometimes just slightly bend, like, oh man, what a nightmare. Laurie said, do you go back over the colored pencils with more pastels or just blend? Just blend. You can do pastels again if you need it, but I don't find I do here. Anna said, haha, looks like in every piece of live stream someone asks you about Prismacolor. Yeah, pretty much. Let's see, Carla said, are you the only one in your family that does art? Just curious. Mostly. I have a cousin that thinks she does. I mean, if she's having fun. But as far as like professionally, yes, I'm the only one. No, well, and my nephew. My nephew loves anything with art. Yeah, my grandfather drew. See, now I'm even wondering, because you know how your family tells you something and you later find out that was never true. I think he drew a water buffalo that was, I remember as a kid being phenomenal, this big piece in graphite, but now I'm like, was that his or I don't even know. Is there a brand, Gracie says, is there a brand of colored pencils you would recommend for someone who is just starting out in colored pencils? I would say for someone just starting out, just dipping their toes in the water, get the 12 set of Polychromos and then one white opaque pencil, so like Caran d'Ache Luminance or Derwent Drawing Chinese White would be my recommendation. You don't need a lot of pencils to get started. You'll learn to blend better from a smaller set. So, but Polychromos are a really good one to start with. And the Derwent Lightfast are too. I just need to look into the Derwent Lightfast, like their basic set. I don't think is enough to really, I don't think it gives you the right colors that would all be all you need. Like it was kind of weird. You'd have to pick and choose individual colors to get the Derwent Lightfast ones to work well. And I believe they're a little bit more expensive. So someone starting out, that may not be the best choice for them. But those are kind of my two favorite pencil brands right now. Caran d'Ache Luminance is also amazing, but also on the pricier end for someone just starting out. You may not want those as much as, I would go with the 12 set. Like that would be my recommendation. 12 set of, I mean, get them as many as you can afford, but I would rather see someone with a 12 set of Polychromos than a 150 set of crap. Anna said, I just received this week my first test set of pan pastels and sanded paper. Looking forward to trying them out this weekend. You'll have fun. Veek said, after seeing the range of colors in pans, I have pan pastel envy. Do you recommend saving up for a larger set? I would, the 20 set, honestly, if you can, I don't know, I genuinely don't know how much this costs. That makes me sound super, like, I was very lucky to get this from them. But this set, if you can get this set of 20, it has everything you need. It's a really good set. Okay, let's see if I can rush through this really quick because I am talking a lot. So I'm just going to block in these darks. Let's switch back to the pink. Now, I recommend if you start feeling overwhelmed, work one petal at a time. Don't, you know, I'm jumping around quite a bit just to rush through this a bit. Okay, let's blend that. Come back through with that yellow for some of the brighter areas. Watch which direction that these little curves go. Highlights in this guy. Okay. I'm going to spray him very lightly. We're going to let that dry for a moment, and then I don't know that I'm going to finish this in the next half hour. We're going to try. It may get pushed to 3:30, but hopefully I'll be done within the next half hour. I'm trying for it. We'll see. Let's see. Carla said, I have Luminance, Polychromos, Lightfast 2. I love Polychromos the most, like the others, but the way they lay down on the paper is weird, spotty. What is what I find? Do you? With the Polychromos, they can be, because they're more translucent, so that's where I think you get that more spotty look. And so with Polychromos, depending on the paper I'm using, I find, like obviously not the case for sanded paper, but I find that I have to keep the pencil sharper and layer a little bit more, like overlapping each little oval or circle. I have to use better techniques to make sure that it's not super spotty because they are more translucent. And I think that's why that happens. JPC13 art, hi, I haven't seen you in a while. Wait, maybe I did. Said, I got a 12 set of Derwent Lightfast, and while there were colors I wish that were in the set, I was very happy with the natural colors on it and was able to finish a floral project. Well, that's good. I don't even know what comes in the set of 12. I know the original set of, what was it, 36, were not suitable as like a complete set. So if somebody was looking for a set, like I just want one brand of pencil, is performance-wise, yes. Color-wise, no, it wouldn't have, like it had an orange that wasn't a neutral red, and it had a blue that was like a light blue without having a darker blue, like, so it wasn't enough that I could even mix the colors I needed. But man, did it have some other really good colors in it. So yeah, I'm interested to see what their 12 set has now that they've got more colors out. Let's see. Caran d'Ache for me are too much expensive, and the difference in quality or performance compared to Polychromos is not so big. Yeah, and see, that's the thing. I love Caran d'Ache. Caran d'Ache tends to be I think they're overpriced on a lot of their products. I like their products. They're very good, but like their graphite pencils. The thing that I loved about their graphite, do I have one over here? I don't. The graphite pencils are shaded a certain, like they fade from which level of gray they are by how dark, like what number of graphite it is. So like a 9 or an 8B would be almost a black, deep charcoal gray, whereas a 4H would be a lighter gray. So it fades. So it's very easy to look at it very quickly, your set, and pick which pencil you want. Performance-wise, I like my Derwent and my Polychromos better. So that was like one thing I liked on them. But the thing was, those pencils, they were graphite and they were super expensive. Like, I'm not going to spend that much money on a graphite pencil. I liked that it was colored and it was easier to identify quickly. But the performance, I liked the smoothness I got from both the Derwent Graphics, the newer set. Well, newer, it's been out for a couple of years now. They upgraded those a few years back. But I liked the performance I got from those and from my Faber-Castell 9000 series much more. So I find that with the Caran d'Ache products, I like them a lot, but you're getting a lot of competition now. I mean, Derwent with their light fast pencils, good luck beating that. Like that is amazing. And now price is up there too with those, but it's like you're getting more competition, and I feel like curious to see how Karen Josh steps that up. Let's see, can I show the spray you are using? I am using Spectrafix. This stuff's amazing. Let's see. Sherry McLeod said, will you use a final fixative on this after it's done? If so, which one? I'll just use more Spectrafix. Will be the only one I have to spray on this. Vitalani said, I'm getting the Winsor & Newton pigment markers in a few months. Nice. I heard you recommend Yupo paper for them, but this paper looks a bit pricey. Is there anything similar I can use? The Winsor & Newton makes a pigment marker paper where you're going to be able to blend, but it's like working on tissue paper, which is pointless to me because I'm not going to sell anything. So one of the things that is so great about the pigment markers, they're light fast. That's not the case like Copics, not light fast. So I wouldn't use something in Copics. So I don't work in Copics anyway, but I wouldn't do something in that and then sell it. I can with the Winsor & Newton pigment markers, but on that paper, it's tissue paper. I can't sell that. So, I mean, yes, for practice, little things like that, I do think it's good to have a small one on that just to get the hang of, but the Yupo is really going to be your best bet. Okay. So, I'm going to call that good enough for now. Let's go ahead and start cleaning things up. Now, there are two things I need my OMS. This is how I get my cleaner edges. And I can use some of the wax-based pencils. Do I have a sharpener? Do I not have a sharpener up here? Where is my... Huh. Oh, it's right in front of me. There's the container with my shavings. Now I need the sharpener. Okay. So I'm going to use the Caran d'Ache. This is a wax-based pencil. So it's going to stick better to the paper, whereas like the polychromos, when you're working on sanded paper, it's more slippery, I guess is a good way to put it. This, I tend to get a sharper edge with a wax-based. And then you can also clean up that edge with a bit of OMS. You have to play with it. Like here, I'm mixing a little bit of green is getting in there, so wipe that off. And see how I can clean that up. I'm using a small flat brush here, which gives me a very clean edge. Pull that in a bit. You have to be careful because if you didn't spray it very well, which I did not, you can start creating this kind of muddy paste with the pan pastels with the OMS, but it does work. I think I'm actually knocking some of the pastel off the paper because I didn't seal it well enough. But that will give you these nice crisp edges. You can start going around that way. What else do I have in here? Grab a few more of the, oh, maybe an orange too. So I've got a few, I'm just grabbing random, like this, pretty much the same as what I had in the polychromos, but now with the wax base, because at this stage, I generally like to stick to or switch over for those finer details. Okay. I am pushing a bit harder with those. Actually, I'm going to mix these two a bit. I still think I want some blending. I don't need that edge with the wax base yet. Where did my yellow go? I'm pushing a lot harder. That's another way you can get those clean edges. Push harder. Can I please tell if we can use polychromos on watercolor? Because I've been struggling. Like if you did a watercolor base and then polychromos on top, absolutely. TK said, the thing you have the pencils in, I'm not sure what it is, looks so fancy, well organized. Can you show it sometime? Actually, if you look at, I have a video, an older one on how I think just colored pencil storage. Look up that, Lachri and colored pencil storage. But it's called a 3-drawer pastel box. I get mine from Jerry's Artorama. Amazon has them, Dick Blick has them, and they are wonderful for storing your pencils. So they're meant for pastels, and the drawers, you can see, kind of slide out. And I have one per different brand of pencil. So again, pushing a bit harder, keeping that nice and clean. Let's go back to an orange. I need a lighter orange. Ooh, I like you. What color is this? Dark chrome yellow. Yes, I would like to use you. Where did my shavings go? So I've got to start working on these values. Actually, I'm having better results right now on this paper with the polychromos than I am with the Caran d'Ache for the details, what I'm trying to get here. I need more room up here. I don't use alcohol markers, so I don't have any suggestions. I can't really give you much information there. I don't typically like markers, I mean, it looks cool when other people do it. I just am not interested in them myself. The only reason that I use the pigment markers is they are light fast. They're the only ones that are, and they blend almost like an oil paint. Like, I just love how they blend. This dark chrome yellow in polychromos is working so well for this lighter yellow area. I'm just looking at where those lights and darks are. Again, doesn't need to be exact, you just need to be close. But you want that variation. The thing that makes your work look flat is by just going, okay, it's orange, just make it solid orange. Getting these lights and darks, getting these values in here, that is what matters. Using the right color doesn't really matter if it's flat. And mine obviously is somewhat rushed just because, live stream. So you can take your time and make yours look even better. Keep those edges nice and clean. Kind of surprised that I'm liking these for the details so much more than the wax base. Usually that's got to just be a difference of the paper there. Boots Mama said, if you scroll up, I wrote the Derwent Light Past 12 set colors. Oh, well, I wouldn't be able to pay attention to it right now. I should be on their website, right? Is that where you got it from? I used the OMS with alcohol with pastel, a little bit like the brush and pencil titanium white. So nice for adding the fine details with the paper when it doesn't expect more pastel. That's nice. OMS is so amazing. It does so many things. Don't overblend, because we do want to start building up to some of these details. You're just constantly looking at that reference photo. You said, I have a set of Lyra Rembrandt polycolor pencils. Do you think they would be good over a pan pastel? I've never thought of using colored pencil on top of pans. I haven't tried it with those. They should be okay. They tend to be a bit waxier than polychromos. I have some, so I should try that. I'm not positive. I would think they would be good. Dark. I'm using green right now for some of these darker areas. Get some pink on this one. This actually needs to be a lot darker. I'm curious how many pencils you have out. Loving the soft pastel colors in the background. I don't know. I have 6 in my hands right now and like 20. I would say probably about 20. Boots on said Durant Light Pass has the colors in sun, yellow, scarlet, salmon, violet. I can't even think about individual colors right now because a lot of those colors don't. Ultramarine and scarlet should be good though. That's kind of my thing that was a problem before. The red and the blue wasn't good, but that's good. I need to sit and like when I can actually look at the colors in the set. I mean, it sounds at a glance like that would be a complete like good, but I need to look at them. Okay, now I'm really going to work on cleaning up some of these edges. So I've got that. What was this one? The red violet. I'm going to sharpen this. Could you get the same effects with pan pastels with soft pastels and the sponge tool? You should. It's just going to be a little bit of a different process because those are going to be chalkier. Beek said, here's a teaching question. Do you recommend painting the same piece twice? Absolutely. I mean, unless you're bored with it. So it would depend on the person. I do think that you can learn a lot from doing the same piece over again, like later on, but not necessarily over and over again at the same day or the same week or whatever. You can start to get burnt out on it. So it depends for sure on the student. For me, if I have to paint the same thing twice, and I used to do this, if someone was like, oh, I like that painting, I'm like, I'll paint it again for you. That is soul crushing. It gets boring. Oh my gosh. And so if the student is losing interest in painting it over and over again, I would say no, don't do it then. As far as the actual learning of it, if they're interested, and that's kind of the key with everything in teaching. If the student is interested, they're going to learn more no matter what the lesson is. So if they are interested, yes. And I had a student who used to do that. She would do it once with me in class and she would go home and do it again on her own. And she learned so fast, but she liked doing it. And so that was the difference. For me, I wouldn't want to. I would get really, really bored and lose interest. So definitely would say it depends on the student. But if the student enjoys it, then absolutely. Grab another. Yeah, that looks like a darker red. Do I want you to message me the colors on me? Well, yeah, that would be awesome. Thanks. That I can look up later. My brain doesn't quite work right when I'm live streaming. I can't really focus on that sort of thing right now. Get some of these details in there, and I'm using, this one is Deep Scarlet Red. Get a few of these details, make sure they curve. And if you have a question, make sure to do the @Lachri Fine Art. If it doesn't highlight my name in orange, I don't see it. Not because I'm trying to ignore you, I just won't see it. If you can't get it to work, I understand. I can't either. Ask one of the moderators, they can ask the question for you. See, I'm really working on trying to get these darks darker and the lights lighter here. You can just constantly look at that photo. One thing I do recommend too, I have a tendency to over focus on one thing. Like I don't rest my eyes. I'm just going to stare at the photo, stare at my artwork, and it's not enough of a different, like, I'm not exercising my eyes. Make sure, I caused a lot of damage to my eyes when I was younger. My prescription more than doubled in less than a year, so the doctors were all worried about it. But I ended up being okay. What was happening was I would sit so close. This is before I was recording, so I didn't have to worry about my head being right on camera. But I mean, I was close to my canvas constantly. That, and I would have my reference photo taped. I would print it and tape it to my easel. So I wasn't looking away at all. And I had to start making myself stop, look across and now I've got a window. I can look out up at the trees across the yard. Anything, a TV on the wall in another area of the room would work. Something where you're focusing your eyes to relax and look at a different distance. Make sure you're doing that. So as much as I keep going, look at the reference photo, look at the reference photo. Also look at other things or your eyes will get very, very strained. This will look really weird too until I get the center done. So we'll go through this a bit more with these, a little bit more detail, and then we'll get onto that center. Got some curves on these lines. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and use that deep, what was it, cadmium yellow? Dark chrome yellow, sorry. Pull that into a few of these areas here with the yellow so it really stands out. It's basically the areas I was using the cream before. This is going to stand out a lot better though. And then I can go back with the cream over portions of that need to be even brighter. I'm not covering all of that darker yellow. Just a few areas here and there. Oh, I missed some lines on him. This guy needs a few more. Let's actually shade a little bit along this petal too, so it looks like it curves down more. let's see. It's also good to use glasses that are blocking the blue light. Well, if you're using it a computer, yeah, if you're using this, blocking the blue light would do you no good. Like the blue light thing is more for your electronics and such. Now, in my case, I am using a computer monitor, but it's so far away, like that's not quite giving me the same effect. Oh, speaking of, it just went to sleep. Wake up. Wake up, wake up. There you go. I'm going to start on the center of the flower so I can judge my values better, and then we'll come back and do any touch-ups that I need there. Actually, let's give you a little bit of a glow. Let's see. Now, if you are having a hard time with your hand, like wanting to rest your hand, like you can see my hand, the side of my hand, I have touched it more than I thought I did, but it actually was probably from out here being in such a mess. But you can put a piece of glassine is the best thing to use. I just tape it to my drawing board so I can rest my hand where I need to without smudging my work or getting the oils from my skin all over it. Okay, so center here. I think I'm just going to do the kind of reverse. There's a few ways that you can do this. One, I can get the lights in there and the darks and then go through with the darks and line all the little seed pod guys. Or I can do everything dark and then just lighten up the centers. I'm trying to think which would be faster. Either way will work. I think I'm going to, I don't know if that really will be faster. Well, I know I need a light ultramarine blue, so I'm going to grab that. You are sky blue. You are not what I need. You are what I need. So let's go ahead and block in about where these little shiny guys go. Okay, so this does work, putting the lights on top. I think that's the way I'm gonna go. So now that I've tested that, let's go ahead. I need a really dark, almost black, maybe a little black mixed with my deep violet, or whatever color this is. Apparently I don't have black over here. And I've lost it. Nope, that's a pencil, not a colored pencil. Okay. Really, I don't have any. Hold on, let me grab a new black pencil. I have one. Nope. There we go. Because I don't know where my other one is right now. So I'm just gonna shade all along this side. There are several ways you can get pretty much the same end here, but I'm going to shade this, and then I'm going to fade into, this one was the red violet, and I'm gonna overlap that into the black so the black's not really flat. Blend that a little bit. Go a little bit darker. Probably end up using both methods I was considering here. Okay, I'm going to spray that. Actually, I need to get this a little darker too so that the yellow will stand out over it. So let's pull that up just a bit where I've got the fuzzy edges. I'm going to lightly mist that. Apparently not lightly enough. I'm going to slather that, let that dry. See if there were any questions I missed while we let that dry for a second. Okay, why does that keep flashing? That's concerning. Bye, Carla. Okay, I think I'm actually caught up on questions here. Every time she had something, I get scared. That's funny. Hold on one second. Since I'm waiting for this to dry, let me make sure this is nothing I need to respond to right now. Oh. It will be hard. So I have a project that I'm going to mention probably sooner than, service is coming up with True Green. I need to cancel them. When are they scheduled? Well, crap. When did they schedule this for? I may have to actually call them while we sit here on the phone and cancel that. because they let you know like an hour before, we will follow CDC guidelines. Okay. I had True Green, but I can't. Okay, I've got 3 days. I canceled them and they're like, well, we'll just put your account on hold. Okay, except cancel. Like, so I've got to call them again. I told them I'd call them in June. I don't want you treating for weeds. I've been just pulling them by hand. That seems a more natural, easy way to go. So yeah, I've got to get a hold of them and tell them not to come back. It's been months. So now what I'm doing is using that light ultramarine blue, and I'm just going to put the little seed, the shiny parts of the seed. Now I'm leaving the darker areas showing through, so it looks like it's the lines in between, if you can see that. I'm not just doing solid. Let's see. Thanks, Moodle. I like your name. Where are we? So making a mistake doesn't mean you've ruined it. It just means you're not finished yet. Yep, that's exactly what I say. Let's see. Have you ever seen the... I already answered that. Lori said, can I pick your flower when you're done and put it in my vase here? It looks so real. Thanks. Okay. So we'll just kind of fade out into another light color. I think I'll switch it to the purples. So I've got this crimson. That doesn't look, I wouldn't call this crimson. That's purple. But we'll use that to get the hint of some of these seed shiny bits. I'm being sloppy. Honestly, if you want to go more realistic, go slower. And I'm going to darken in between a few of these with the black. Just a little. Kind of almost dotting in between some of these, just to make the black stand out a bit more. Don't need to go too crazy on that. Okay. Now, we're going to get the little hairy guys. Pretty sure that's what they're called, hairy guys. I'm pushing pretty hard to make sure that shows up, and I'm just going to kind of follow. I'm not doing any of these exact. I just want to get the general movement. So like here, they're short. So I'm going to do little circles because they're aiming at the viewer. Whereas when they turn sideways, you can start making the longer, like here where they start to stick out. But don't overdo this. It's really easy to look through here and go crazy and put them everywhere. People do the same thing when they're drawing eyelashes. There's not that many in here, and they need to start overlapping. I need to get some other values in there. Well, I'll get shadows with oranges. They go the opposite direction too. Like here, we're sticking out there. Can you guys hear my neighbor's lawnmower? I don't know if that picks up on the audio or not. That neighbor has a French bulldog puppy who's the cutest puppy in the world. Although I don't know, Nick's babysitting some Boston Terriers right now that are pretty darn adorable. But he is so cute, and her and Gibson are constantly trying to visit each other through the fence. And I don't know if he's just in love with her or if he wants to eat her because he's a greyhound. Hard to say. But if he's outside, first thing he does is run to that fence to look for the puppy. And they can't really see each other. They can smell each other, but it's really funny, the level of obsession there. But we need to make sure that fence is maintained really well because I wouldn't want a chance her getting over here and getting hurt by the boys. She is the cutest puppy. No, that doesn't really work very well. Try an orange. See what I mean? I say this all the time. We have this thing in our head where we think, well, to be an artist, to be a good artist, you have to know exactly what color. Artists know exactly what color, everything all the time. They know exactly what to use. And my work would be good if I only knew what color to use. I didn't know what color to use. I tried one and went, that didn't work. Put it down, try a different color. It is that simple. Like, we get so worked up on wanting the exact color and not wanting to mess up that, oh, that's what I keep getting errors that YouTube's having. You might get buffering, I apologize. But we get so worked up over making a mistake that we don't really try things. I didn't know if that color was going to work, and I didn't like the results I got, so I put it down and grabbed another one. Like, don't get yourself so worked up over, I just need to know what color it is. Try something. If it looks bad, try something else. It is that simple. And if you're sitting there going, no, it's not. Yes, it is. You're overthinking it. Trust me. I'm doing this for a really long time. I've been teaching for a very long time. And until you can get out of your own way of, I just need to know the color, that's what's going to make my work look realistic. No, the values will. How light are your lights? How dark are your darks? Get that accurate. And that's what's going to make your work look more realistic. But as far as like being afraid to make a mistake, that's holding you back. You've got to get over that. You've got to be willing to try and experiment and see, like, does this look good? No? Okay, try something else. And you're just going to layer until it looks good. You're going to have bad layers. Totally normal. I think I need a few more. I think I'd like mine to be a little hairier. This flower hasn't waxed in a while. Raven said, I barely hear it, but it's audible with the headphones. Yeah, Fridays seem to be his lawn mowing day, so we just get to deal with that. Crazy Bone said, what are you doing here at this time? Did you had cornrows the other day? Huh? I'm drawing at this time, and I had I call them French braids, or what I had the other day. I had 2 of those. I can't sleep with those though, like they're inside. I can't braid normal. I can only braid inside out, so it's like a lump sticking out. And I can't sleep with them braided like that because it pushes on my head. Way too much information. But yeah, those only stay in for a few hours. I can use some brighter yellow highlights. Let's see what I've got in my collection of, maybe that'll work. I don't know. With the Caran d'Ache. Jason said, Lisa, have you finished the zebra? So if so, can we see it? It is over on Instagram right now. I posted it earlier. It's not the best photo. It was just taken with my cell phone. But that is on Instagram if you want to check that out. He's behind Gibson right now. You kind of can see him. But it's big. If I brought it over here, it's not. You're not going to really see much. But you can see him over on Instagram. That link is in the description. But I need to get a better photo, like with my good camera. Actually, I need it's finished enough that I could like finish the video, but it's not finished enough that when you look at it in person, there are a few edges I need to clean up, a few little things I need to do touch-ups on that I haven't gotten to yet. And then I need to sign it. That is definitely going to be one of our Patreon postcards. Probably, I still need to order the postcards for May? That goes out in June. Yeah, May. So it may be May or June's postcard. Or July. I don't know. But it's going to be one of them coming up here soon. Yeah, I'm really happy with how he came, minus the edges and stuff that I need to clean up. I'm pretty happy with how he came out. Now you can take more time than I did here, and all these little hairy guys like actually shade each individual one. I'm just kind of doing this quickly. When I do these live streams, I've got to try to simplify things as much as possible, but you can take your time and put so much really pretty detail in yours. Now at this stage, I'm looking at the reference photo, but only sort of. I'm looking more at my photo going, okay, would it look better if I made this darker or this lighter? This is where I come through and take some artistic liberties on what I think might look nice. What was that? Gibson just let out a big sigh. Oh no. His muscles are twitching and he's growling or something in his sleep. First I thought it was a snore. I don't know if he's snoring or growling. I can't tell. Maybe he's dreaming about that puppy. Although he's never growled at her. Yeah, I think he's just snoring. I don't know. His muscles are kind of twitching back there. Maybe he's dreaming. He's a big protector dog. That's one heck of a dream because he's a greyhound. They protect. He guards his bed. That is all. See, I'm just defining things a little bit more, and by putting the darks in certain areas, it'll make the lights next to it appear to be a little bit brighter. My stomach will not stop growling. Oh yeah, he's dreaming now. Now he's kind of... Can you guys hear that? He's got, his cheeks are flapping in and out as he lets that air out while he's kind of... Gibson, wake up. I don't know what you're dreaming about, but you're worked up, whatever it is. He's not waking up. That is funny. I've never seen him do that before. Because he's not one, like, even when he's awake, he doesn't get... No, I guess he gets kind of worked up with that puppy, but he doesn't really growl at her. He runs the fence. Although if I had to guess, I would say that's probably what he's dreaming about. That's like his everyday obsession, is seeing that puppy on the fence, or at the fence. Okay, I need a white. There we go. Or maybe cream. I'm gonna lighten this edge up a little bit more. Jason, okay, I got that one. Sergio said, I never cease to be amazed by your ability to make a piece so recognizable. I have to reaffirm the fact that you are awesome. Thank you. Leah said, just checked out the zebra. I love it. After watching you do this, I'm thinking I should change my view on colored pencils. I bought some black colored pencils and did not like them. So it may just be the pencils themselves that you didn't like. It's possible. And that's why when I was bringing up before, like, yeah, I can teach with this pencil. I can teach with that pencil. Or different art supplies. Some art supplies will make it harder to learn. And people will think, well, I'm a beginner, so I want the basics. I want the cheapest. Okay, get good supplies. Just fewer colors is going to be a better way to go. So I've not used those pencils, so I really don't know if that may be the problem. It might not be. But, yeah, I'm a huge fan of colored pencils. They're just something, they're very fun to work in. Wow, my stomach is loud. So I'm going around some of these edges, getting a few highlights, throwing in some extras that aren't even in the photo, just because I think it might make mine look a little better. Some of them are. Some of them are a lot more subtle than what I'm doing. I'm a little jealous. I want my yard gets cut again on Sunday. I don't know. Is this like just a weird me thing? I get as excited about having my lawn cut or mowed as I do my own haircut. Like it looks so pretty after they cut it. I get so excited. So now I'm like listening to that one being mowed. I'm like, oh, I want mine mowed again. I have to wait till Sunday. I know, I'm weird. I hope someone else is weird too. Leah said, I think it was a mix of both, pencils and my lack of knowledge using them. Yeah, that definitely could be. You have to remember too with colored pencil, they're just slow. It is not a fast medium. So you've got to have a bit of patience with that. You're going to go through a lot of ugly stages. And one of the things with colored pencil, especially if you're typically used to painting, is you want to work in a small area. So here I kind of jumped around a lot. I filled in a lot very quickly, but this isn't just anything super detailed, obviously. But with colored pencil, break it down to like 1 square inch at a time, start to finish, and then move on to the next square inch. Instead of trying to do like everything all at once, it gets very overwhelming that way. So if you could break it down into one little area, you have an area that you can see, okay, that square inch is done and it looks amazing. So you at least have that encouragement of, okay, I can do this. I can see where this is going. Instead of doing like, let's say the entire background and then and even though I typically work that way, but instead of doing everything all at once, you have that ugly stage. It lasts even longer because it's such a large portion. And even if the end result happens in the same amount of time, you don't have that instant gratification or that feel of I'm winning, I'm doing a good job as you would when you do one little square inch at a time when you're trying to work the whole piece at the same time. So it's definitely overwhelming if you're trying to do too much there. be a little bit shinier there. I think I can darken it up in between a few of these a bit more. Get more dots. And then I think I could also probably make the pinks a little bit lighter on some of these, which will make these look darker, which is something I need to have happen here. And I'm just taking this creamer, is it ivory? Ivory. Lightly going over it. I don't even have to blend it. It just blends all on its own. Okay, I'm going to take that darker red, just a little bit more on these guys up here. Now, fundamentally, you get to these final stages too, they really, the pencil itself just blends so nicely. It does not take much work to blend at this stage. There we go. And then for signing it, just whatever, pick a color that you've already been using. And I will sign mine right here. That doesn't show up very well. I can fix that though. Now my signature is a little too low to the bottom, and I don't recommend going that low, because if I were to frame this, that frame's got to come up a little over that and it's going to cover the bottom. So mine is definitely lower than it should be. So if I want to redo it, I can smudge it out, or at least soften it enough that I can redo it over. You'll still see some of that. Let's go a little higher and let's use a darker color. That was an example of how not to sign a name. You want to watch that when you sign your signature, whether it be on a canvas or on a paper. Don't go all the way to the edge, because that frame or the mat is slightly, the lip of that is going to overlap that a bit. So I need to be higher. Now, that isn't going to be covered. So that's a much better way to go, and it shows up a bit better. So there we go. That is the finished, I've made a mess. That is our finished flower. Again, you can take longer. You can put more time, not rush through it like I do. But yeah, that is it for this guy. We've got a couple more questions I'll go through. No, I'm not going to put the leaf because we're already 17 minutes over. So I'm not going to, you guys certainly can, but I'm not going to. Let's see. Jason said, it reminds me I have to mow the lawn. Maybe that's why I like having my lawn mowed. I don't do it myself. That's probably why I get excited about it. Like I clean my house myself, and I've considered like, okay, do I want to hire a housekeeper? I can't afford a housekeeper, but I had considered that. It's like the lawn, the maintenance, the heat, like I will not feel well doing that. And my husband's sure not going to do it. So that was one of those, when we bought a house, we knew we would have to hire someone to do. Let's see. Raven said, I used to get excited to mow my friend's yard. There was something satisfying about it. It just looks so pretty after, like, and clean. Let's see. Boots Mama said, I think I heard someone say that they thought the Blick colored pencils were made by Cole Noir Polycolor Company. Huh. Maybe. Rhonda said, are you going to put it? Okay, got that one. Shelly said, I like having colored pencil piece in the works all the time. And on these days when I don't have a lot of time to paint and clean up, I just pick up the pencils for a bit. Exactly. I absolutely love that about pencils, is that you can just kind of have them sitting to the side, pick it up, do a few brush strokes or pencil strokes. Yeah, I totally get that. Anna said, does sandpaper ever lose its tooth, or does it get filled with pigment, or can you layer and keep working in? I wouldn't say indefinitely. There probably is a point where it would smooth out enough that you couldn't get the pencil to stick. I've never found it. I've never hit that layer level myself. But if you're spraying, excuse me, if you're using like powder blender, you could be spraying texture fixative, which is continuously adding more tooth. The only time that I got it really slick was when I was burnishing with a wax-based pencil on sanded paper. But even that, I went over with texture fixative and I can go back over it again. So I never really hit a point where I couldn't layer more, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't. I just didn't quite experience that myself. This looks a little bit more faded. I feel like it could have a little bit more contrasty in here. And you know what color I did not use today, which is weird? I'm gonna have to fix that. I could put Mortem. Come in here and give me a few shadows. Just a bit. I'm missing a few. How could I have used pencils and not used my favorite? Not that it's my favorite color, it just works on every piece for everything. Okay, anyway, stop messing with stuff. Let's see. Whoops, that just scrolled too far. Gail said, I am visualizing a bee flying towards the flower at the top left corner. And you could do that. Like I could add that in. I don't have time right now, but you could add that in and it'll show up on sanded paper. That's one of the things that's so nice. If I was working on like a hot press watercolor paper, I couldn't make that show up well. So, I mean, I guess if I used Touch Up Texture titanium white, painted the bee, that area white, and then put the bee on top, you know, use color pencils on top, you could make it work. But with sanded paper, you just draw it on here and it'll show right up. It's so nice. Nick said, gotta go. Great stream, everybody. Have a great night, Lisa and Joseph. Oh, and Gibson and Wade. Also, make sure to check out our moderators' channels. I almost called him Wade. Nick, who's a name I never get right. Nick and Joseph both have channels here on YouTube. Check them out. Tell them thank you. They help so much with these streams. Let's see. John said, just got some luminance and Pablos. Nice. Shirley said, how do you get the light pencil to cover up a dark area? Mine do not show up. Well, this is sanded paper. So that's really going to be the bigger thing here. Sanded paper, everything shows up. Like everything sticks to it really well. Even a white polychromos. I mean, look how well this shows up over anything, which, you know, on watercolor paper, not the case. So sanded paper is it's very different to work in because of how everything, like it just sticks really well and shows up really well. So that's why, in this case, I'm able to get that to show up. If you're working on white paper, you may want to build from your lights to your darks. Leah said, thank you so much for another great live stream and tips. Thank you for joining me today. You too, Colin. Oh, where were we? Denise said, what is the difference between a workable fixative and a matte finish for graphite? Which one do you recommend? So a workable fixative I've never had success with except for the Touch Up Texture or the brushandpencil.com. Their texture fixative is like a workable fixative, but it's a little different. But that one is the only thing that I use as far as while I'm working that worked well. I tried using a workable fixative on graphite before and on colored pencil, and it did not do anything helpful. So I don't use any of those in that case. But I do use the Touch Up Texture, the texture fixative when I'm working with powder blender. Thanks, Carol. She said the background is really nice with the pastels. Yeah, it is. It is so fast to layer down. Yeah, and you get that beautiful soft look. What digital art program do I use? Normally, if I'm working on my computer, I use Photoshop. If I'm working in like my tablet, my Android tablet, I use, is it Art Rage? Do I have it on? No, I don't have it on my phone. I forget. I can't remember it right now because it's been so long since I did it. But I want to say it was Art Rage is the one that I like the best. I have a video on it. If you look up Lachri and digital painting on YouTube, here on YouTube, it'll come up. The one that I did on the Samsung tablet with it was the macaw. That's the program that I like. It's been way too long since I did it though, so I forget the name. Okay, 3:22, we are done. Thank you guys for joining. If you painted along or you painted it later, please share it with me. I would love to see it. Just tag me in it or share it to one of our groups, either Miwi. I get it backwards. I have a Wemo. Wemo is my light switch. Miwi is I get it backwards. Is the social media platform that's like Facebook when Facebook used to be good. Link to that is in the video description or over on Facebook. I would definitely love to see them. And I will see you guys next, Sunday. I have a video I'm working on to show, because I know some of you wanted to know how I kept my orchids live and how I get them to bloom. So I'm going over that. I just need to edit it. I filmed it yesterday. Well, I still need to film a few more things. It's mostly done. So that will be soon. And yeah, I'll see you guys Wednesday. Bye.